good morning.
Well, I like that new tune.
You right? I like it too. There are a lot of creative artists out there that are up and coming, and
Hmm.
so you get a license to use their creative artistry to use for podcasts,
I like it.
broadcasts, and Florida House Representative is in the green room. And thanks for joining me today again, co-host, my amazing co-host Stephanie Pointer. You're up and coming too. Jeez, you are rocking the boat, girl.
Hot mess. That's me.
So I think that they should budget some Dramamine for Tampa residents.
Maybe just a
Okay,
Benadryl or two. That
yeah,
kind of, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we are going to bring in. He's my representative too, by the way. He is and good morning, House Rep, Florida House Rep Bernie Jacques. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, of
Good
course,
morning.
and yes, yes. So he is. Let me go ahead and share this because he is my representative.
Bernie,
And
can you give us, while Heidi's queuing that up, can you give us what I call the basic Bernie? Tell us a little bit about you and why you do what you do and what you think is really important in your district and in our state. Can you do that?
Absolutely. I will give you the basic Bernie. So, first of all, apologies. I'm reporting from my car. I just drove in from Tallahassee earlier this morning, stopped by at a fundraiser kickoff for my friend Congressman Anna Paulina Luna. And so, but it's good to be on with you all. So, as it was mentioned, I'm State Representative Bernie Jacques, District 59, which is the Seminole Largo area here in Pinellas County. I believe that government should be there to protect freedoms and opportunities. And that's why I got involved in public service to protect the freedoms and opportunities that I had growing up in this great state where I had a front row seat to the American dream and saw my family was able to accomplish quite a bit in a short period of time as first generation Americans. And so this is the type of thing that we have to protect. And I think you do it by focusing on several things. Number one, you have to make sure that there is law and order. Public safety comes first. That's government's primary responsibility. You got to make sure there's an education system that is focused on education, getting our students ready for the workforce and to contribute to society. And we have to make sure there's a strong and free economy that will offer job opportunities for families to be able to support themselves. And so I'm in my first term. It's been a wild ride so far. We've been very busy up in Tallahassee. Got elected in 2022, and I'm in my second session now. In the first session, we're able to be involved in a lot of key policy areas regarding public safety and education and so forth. And we're able to get 9 bills across the finish line and signed by the governor. And we are hitting the ground running. We hit the ground running for this session as well. We had 2 bills on the House floor just this week that we passed out of the House. And we've got many others that we're championing, and we look forward to ultimately passing as well. But yes, it is an honor to serve, and it's an honor to be on this program.
Well, thank you for visiting with us today.
thank you for the benefit of the people, the citizenry, so that they know what's going on in government, so that they could um, be engaged. Because without the citizens being engaged, this doesn't work. If you
Absolutely.
want to have more information or know more about um, Florida House Rep Bernie Jacques, you can check out this wonderful website that the state set up to become familiar and know how to contact your representative. Well, I'm going to stop this share, and I know that we've committed to 30 minutes. I just want to get right in. We agended um, first. I want you to talk about the 3 bills that you're on this morning. To talk about the first one, I want you to talk about HB 415 and what is that legislation? What is it going to do for Floridians?
Yeah, so House Bill 415 is the Pregnancy and Parenting Resources website bill. So what this bill will do, it will set up a state website that will establish a one-stop shop of all resources that parents would need in order to have. Hi, sorry, I've got people. I'm in a parking lot, and so I was spotted.
Tell
So
them
it
you're
was
on
set up.
Florida, you judge, and good morning from us to them.
Certainly. So this will set up a website for pregnant women, expecting parents, of all resources that they would need in order to make sure that parenting and childbirth is never a burden here in our state. So it would include everything from things regarding maternal health services, prenatal, postnatal care. You will have things regarding financial assistance, social services, items regarding adoption services, as well as things for the fathers, parenting courses, and things for mentorship as well. And so this will all be compiled in one website. Right now, a lot of these resources exist, but they're very hard to find. And so if you are that, parent to be, and you're trying to search for what is available to make sure that I have a successful birth, that I am able to raise my child successfully, you're going to be jumping around from site to site to see what's available. This will be a very dedicated, standalone website maintained by the state of Florida, a one-stop shop where you can have all of those resources at your fingertips. And so that was on the House floor this Thursday, and we passed it out of the House. And now goes to the Senate, and I am confident that it will pass and ultimately be signed into law by the governor. This is a great initiative that I first became aware of by some activists who are very involved in the life movement. They want to create a culture of life here in our state, and they pointed to the state of South Dakota created something similar. And so I looked at what the South Dakota website was all about, and it was pretty impressive. And so we want to replicate that and have that here in the state of Florida as well, so that parents, pregnant women can have everything they need to make sure that, again, pregnancy and parenting is never a burden here in the state of Florida.
And I'm assuming that this is supported it's a bipartisan supported bill.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. So it was initially, right, when I filed it, again, it's a website that provides resources for pregnancy and parenting. And during the first committee stop, it passed unanimously. But as it started making its way across the legislative process, some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and I am a Republican, I don't know if that was mentioned. So some of the Democrats started to back away because they started hearing from groups like Planned Parenthood, and they took issue because the website did not include abortion services. And mind you, this is a website for parenting. It's a website for those who are going to bring life into our state. And it is a website to show the resources for what is available to you once you bring life into our state. So this website is not about abortion services. I said during one of my debates in committee that if that's the choice you want to make, there's other places you can go look. But this website is not about that. And so a lot of them took issue with that. But I maintain a firm stance that this is a website about promoting a culture of life and those who want to parent. And so if you want to do something else, go look for it somewhere else. But that's what it's about. So we did have, I think, 2 Democrats vote with us on the House floor. So we had a couple, but unfortunately, due to the partisan nature on this issue, where I don't see what's partisan about just giving you the resources and the information. Some definitely backed out. And
yeah, listen, I'm glad I asked the question. So, because that's information certainly that voters, Floridians need to know, and I'm sure Ms. Pointer's going to have something to say about this.
Well, my question for you is, let's take abortion out and set it on the table. Here's my question for you. Is there access to birth control services? Because if the state is only preaching parenting and pregnancy information, are they going to, you have to give equal access. And I'm talking as a 16-year educator of 8th, 9th, 10th graders, all the way up to age 24. And I never preached abstinence. I told them, you need to have condom sense. If you're not mature enough to put on a condom or tell him to put on a condom, then you're not mature enough to have sex. And that was a good way for kids to make that judgment call for themselves. But if we don't, if you're looking up having, pregnancy information and not giving the same resources to the ways to stop pregnancy, then that's not equitable. And I mean, I'll be the first person, nothing to do with abortion, but if you are not teaching how to not become pregnant, it doesn't matter how much parenting information you give somebody. As you can tell from CPS and the services where they've got 4, 5, 6 kids sitting in foster care over and over again, that's where I run into the issue with it. And who's going to supply this information? Where is it going to come from?
Can I jump in before House Rep?
I mean,
No. Before he answers, because if it does not include that, House Rep Jacques, is there still time legislatively to incorporate that? Because it doesn't have anything to do with abortion.
Right. It has nothing to do with abortion, and it's about pregnancy, right? So this is not information to stop pregnancies either. This is not a sex ed website. Again, if you want that type of information, there's other places you could go look. This is about what would be available to you if and when you bring a child into our state. That is what the website's about. So it's about parenting and pregnancy resources. So during the term that you're pregnant, what's available to you, what kind of health screenings, what kind of care, what kind of information to make sure that you have a successful birth. And then once you have that child, what services are available as well regarding parenting, financial, social, etc. And so we're talking apples and oranges here. This is a let me just finish.
Wait, Stephanie.
Let me finish. This is a website that is life affirming, right? So this is a website that supports life and supports those who are going to raise children into our state and to make sure that they have a successful pregnancy without any complications.
And so, look, here's the thing, Stephanie, go ahead and respond, but we're not, I don't think my
no,
objective
it's all good.
No, Stephanie, hold on. I do want you to respond. I do want you to respond. Go.
I'm not saying, well, let me ask you this. Who will be the source of the information?
So the source of the information, it'll be compiled by the Department of Health, Department of Children and Families, as well as the Agency for Healthcare Administration. So those 3 state departments and agencies will come together and to compile the resources. The Department of Health will be the lead agency, the lead department that will contract with a third party that will build out the website and add the resources into all of these key tabs.
Stephanie, and I agree with you. I got to tell you, but he's on this morning to talk to us about the pending legislation. Okay,
I'm good with that. I'm just asking.
Follow-up conversation for sure.
I like to be out in front of things. I would rather an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. In my personal
look, I'm sure that there have to be Republican Party members that are going to agree with you as well. This is an opportunity for him to come on, talk about the legislation,
right?
Field these questions, and then it's up to everyone to contact.
I totally agree.
Representative and say, look, you know what? I'd like a portion of that website to be dedicated on how to prevent, because I know you're about life, but there's a lot of people that have babies and then they don't take care of them. And then, that's an issue. The Republican Party is not going to start adopting or picking up the tab for children that are brought into the earth and then not taken care of.
Well, actually, that's the purpose of the website as well, right? Because we know there are parents who are going to have children that they for whatever reason can't or don't want to take care of them. And so one of the things that's specifically outlined in the bill is that adoption services have to be included. And so that will be a robust part of the website and the resources as well, and to make that transition much easier, because a lot of times now, if you talk to a parent or somebody who's pregnant, they wouldn't know where to go regarding how do I pursue adoption services and so forth. And so this is going to make it more streamlined, and it will help that decision, and it will help the mom to be like, okay, well, this is a much easier thing than I thought, and I know this is now available to me once I bring this child to term, that even though I'm not equipped to take care of that child, there's a whole network available, and the state had made it very available and readily accessible to me to pursue. And so that is covered as well.
Okay, so listen, we have enough to know to have informed those who are listening, but because we only he committed to 30 minutes, we have 15.
That's
There's
fine.
2 more bills that we're gonna talk about.
Let's go ahead and move on. Thank you for putting this site together. I appreciate it because education is always power.
But you made a great point, Stephanie. I just gotta say. Okay, so juvenile justice, HB 1181.
Yeah, so this bill is a juvenile justice accountability bill that brings more accountability to our juvenile justice system. We've done a lot out of the state on the prevention side, on the rehabilitative side, which this bill still does, because the whole system of juvenile justice primarily is rehabilitation for these youth. But we have to have accountability as well. I tell people all the time, kids, they're smarter than you think. They're not dumb, right? If they can get away with something over and over and over again, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to push the limits and do it more and more and more. And so while we have a system that is currently forgiving, more forgiving than it is in the adult system, we can't take out accountability measures. And we're seeing this in the instances of juvenile gun crimes, where we have been seeing an uptick of juveniles committing very brazen acts with firearms. And so this bill will crack down on that. It will elevate minor in possession of a firearm from a first-degree misdemeanor to now a third-degree felony. It will also make sure that a judge holds a juvenile in detention if they commit a serious gun crime, firearm offense, in detention before their adjudicatory hearing, the presumption being that they are a danger to public safety. And if they are to release them back into the public before that hearing, they have to put in writing as to why they think this youth does not pose a threat to the public. And if they are to be released, they will be on in an electronic monitor as well. We also upped the penalty for smuggling contraband and juvenile detention facilities and making that a second-degree felony. We're seeing all sorts of things being brought into these facilities, so we want to send a strong message that that will not be tolerated. And we are making sure to do little things here and there, something as simple as allowing school records to be brought in into the court system in order to see if a child is compliant with their probation. We are removing what's called the citation program. So the civil citation program is now going to be changed to a delinquency citation. It'll be, in essence, the same thing. It'll be a pre-arrest type of a diversion program, but we're changing the name from civil citations to delinquent citation, because you have to send a strong message. There's nothing civil about what these kids are doing. These are criminal acts, and they're being given this civil citation ticket. We're changing that to a delinquency citation to send the message that what you're doing here is a delinquent act. You'll still be diverted. You'll still have to do a program before you go into the full justice system and officially charged. But certainly we have to send a strong message, and we make it very clear that firearm offenses will no longer be eligible for these type of citation programs, to send that strong message. So that's what it does in a nutshell, but it's a robust package that brings accountability to a juvenile justice system.
I appreciate you guys changing the name, because making it fluffy, civil citation versus delinquent citation, it does make a difference. I'm sorry, but we should call it what it is. Let me ask you, in this bill, is there anything, I think we all know that where these juveniles are getting most of their weapons is they're stealing them out of cars, that they're left unlocked in cars. Has there been any talk of any legislation to hold gun owners accountable who leave their guns unattended and available for these kids to pick up and take out on the street?
No, that's not the nature of this bill, because this bill is specific to just juvenile justice. And so this is just relating to the juvenile justice system. I will say, as a gun owner myself, use prudence. I mean, people should be locking up their cars, right? Don't just leave your gun in a place that's readily accessible, because you're right, that's where they're getting them primarily. They're going around neighborhoods, they're trying door handles, and they don't have to break a window to get in. It's simply somebody left their car door completely unlocked, and then they go to the center console or the glove compartment, and there it is. And so I saw it as a prosecutor, these type of gun thefts, and certainly all gun owners should be very responsible in making sure that you lock up their cars and to make sure that these guns are not available to these youth. But once they do steal the guns, we can't make an excuse for them and be like, well, because somebody left it unlocked, it's all good. So that's the nature of my bill's more on the juvenile accountability side. That's what that bill is addressing.
Okay. Works
So
for
is it
me.
a serious firearm offense just simply possessing it?
No, it's things like armed robbery,
Okay,
armed carjacking, and so forth. After a second one, it becomes to that level as well. So not for the first offense. So
understood.
if you had already been adjudicated on a minor in possession, so then that will also trigger the mandatory detention as well.
Okay. Do you have any follow up, Stephanie?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so then let's just go to the last one because we have 10 minutes left. And it is Florida House passes bill that targets children on social media. I think we're going to have
Yes,
more of a
ma'am. Yes,
robust
ma'am.
conversation with Stephanie on this.
Well,
Absolutely.
Okay,
you
let him
know,
let him talk about what it does and then
okay,
follow up. You're going to be the one that asks the
you throw
questions.
me out there.
Yeah, so it's a robust bill. It's House Bill 1, a priority of the Florida House of Representatives. It's why it's House Bill 1. So the speaker is very much behind this, and a lot of us are very much behind this. I joined in as a co-sponsor. What we're seeing is that the use of social media, when it comes to our youth, particularly our younger kids, it's becoming a crisis. We're seeing high rates of depression. We're seeing high rates of self-harm. We've seen suicide linked to the use of social media. We're seeing that these big tech companies are intentionally employing addictive algorithm technologies, the endless scrolling and so forth, that really is just poisoning the minds of our kids and leading them, at best to be unproductive, but at worst, leading them to be involved in self-harm or be harmed, period. A recent study showed that 70% of kids would accept a friend request from someone on social media, regardless of who sent the request. They don't even have to know them. 70% would just hit yes, I accept this person to be my quote-unquote friend on this social media world. The reason why that's very concerning for me as a prosecutor is that that same study showed 82% of sex crimes against children originated online slash social media. And so you have a situation where the predators know where to go. They know a lot of these children, especially if they come from vulnerable families, vulnerable backgrounds, are so ready to befriend whoever is going to engage with them on social media. Next thing you know, it's a social media interaction, then it's an in-person interaction. I spoke about this case on the House floor when I was debating on behalf of this bill, that we had a situation here in Pinellas County. Vile individual friended these couple of girls on Snapchat. He meets them across from the high school in Clearwater, and they go to an Airbnb, and he starts recording them doing all sorts of sex acts. These girls were underage, and when they arrested him, they found on his phone several other underage girls committing sex acts. None except for one was able to be identified. And luckily for the girls that we knew about in Pinellas, they got justice, and he is now serving 30 years in prison. But we'll never know about the other young girls. But this was born out of social media. And I told my colleagues, if we can even limit one more of these predators from going after kids by limiting the age, we're talking about under the age of 16 to start an account, a social media account, I will count it as a win and very beneficial to our state.
Are you gonna? Is Florida gonna seek to ban Xboxes and game systems, which would allow children to potentially engage with playing a game with somebody, a sexual predator?
No, it's very specific to social media,
Okay.
and so not gaming consoles and those are not part of the bill.
Well, that could lead to then later on in the future that being proposed to. Anyways, go Stephanie. I know
What?
you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to know about how you plan to enforce it, and second of all, what would be the repercussions for violations?
Sure. Great question. So we enforce it through a age verification system. So part of the bill will require a third party to verify someone's age when they're setting up this account. And the third party, again, has to be a third party. It can't be associated with the actual social media company, and it can't be associated with any kind of governmental entity. And once the age is verified, the information has to be deleted immediately, so there is data privacy. And so they're not able to retain someone's information after they verify that they meet the age 16 or above to go on these sites. Additionally, the enforcement mechanisms is we add a private cause of action, and so now these social media companies will now be on the hook by parents in a civil suit if they don't comply with this law.
So who's gonna pay for the third party?
Well, it's not. They're not for purchase, right? I mean, it's not necessarily a paying mechanism, and it could be. So you have these situations now, because we don't specify, contractual terms how this has to happen. I mean, if a social media company or a age verification process has to set this up, they don't have to do it a certain type of way. They just have to verify and have to delete the information. That's what we specify. And the other thing too is this is nothing new, right? There's certain sites now that you have to get age verification, right? So you have online gambling and so forth. So this is a part of online places where children can go now, that you have to verify to make sure that the people who meet the requirement can go on the sites. And for children who are above 16 and under 18, if they do have an account, there has to be some disclosures in there. The social media companies have to put whether or not they're using addictive algorithm technologies. They have to state whether or not any kind of personal information is being retained, and other measures as well to make sure to protect and have disclosures when children are using these apps.
But adults don't read that. I mean, I'm just saying, adults don't read that.
So I'm sure Stephanie's gonna have. I'm gonna have one more question. How is that not inconsistent? I know I've read some persons take issue with this because it's contradictory to the whole parental rights that DeSantis began advocating for during the pandemic. Parental rights. Some parents now take the position that you're taking away my rights to make the decision myself about my child and what they can and can't do.
Yeah, I've heard those concerns, and I get where parents are coming from, but I will note that parental rights is not the end all be all, right? There's a lot of things you can't say parental rights and allow your children to do. You can't give your kid a cigarette and say parental rights, right? You can't bring them to the strip club and say parental rights, right? So there are certain things that are age appropriate, right? There are certain things kids cannot do at a certain age. They can't drive at a certain age. They can't get a tattoo at a certain age. So there's a lot of things that parents can't say parental rights to do. And we're adding social media to that list, to that long list of things that kids can't do now, that a parent can't override by saying parental rights. We think it's a compelling state interest, much like when the tobacco industry wasn't disclosing the addictive nature of their products and nicotine. We believe these social media, these tech giants, know very darn well what they're doing to our kids, poisoning their minds, that's leading to suicide, that's leading to human trafficking, and no kind of guardrails. It's such a compelling state interest that we think we're going to add this. We believe that it's important to add this to the things that children under the age of 16 cannot participate in. And I don't think it's about parental rights, because it's about protecting the children. In fact, I've had parents come up to me and say, thank you for making my job as a parent easier, because now we have the law on our side if this were to pass, to be able to stop what they know it to be a harm to their children.
I understand, but you can't compare cigarettes to look at this young girl. She's been on social media displaying her artistic DJing skills. That certainly is not something that you can compare with smoking. That there's a good, healthy utility that can be had through social media, even under 16 years old, that kids that will not be subject to the depression statistics that you say or become addictive. They're doing it just like a healthy adult would do it. Adults get addicted and can become depressed. So I think that that's not an orange to orange comparison. And still, even though there are parents who are saying that thank you for making their job a lot easier, some parents are taking issue with not being able to have the parental say as to while they're being responsible and overseeing what their kids are doing online. I think that that's taking away from right. Well, yeah.
I respect that, and I think it just comes down to a different perspective, right? And I think we in the legislature, of those who have signed on to this bill, believe it has reached the point where it is a crisis point, and that there has to be some age guardrails. What it's doing to children, especially young girls, is very destructive, and we don't want to be in a situation where we're seeing more self-harm, more bouts of depression, and the mental health crisis among our youth has only been spiking since the advent of social media. And so a lot of us are saying enough is enough. And again, for me as a former prosecutor, I'm coming at it from a perspective of taking one more tool away from the predators who seek to prey on our children through these apps and through these social media, platforms. And to me, I think it's well worth it. And once you're 16, you can hop on there, and we'll have the disclosures. There'll be things regarding what kind of technologies they're using, what kind of resources that are available for suicide prevention, and so forth. This is reaching a crisis point, and we believe that this is something we can put an age limit towards, much like we do in other areas.
My question is, what social media? What's the definition? My kids are minor gamers. We've never had game consoles in my house. But there's been a couple and they've disappeared or they've gotten thrown up against this wall. But anyway, bottom line is that where's the definition for social media, and how I have to agree with Haiti about the video games, because I think the video games are just as poisonous, if not more, and create the attitude of apathy, which goes back to the juvenile justice. Everybody wants to carry a gun because they get to play video games with guns. So I don't know where the line is on this, but and as the parent of a 14-year-old, or actually she's 15 this week, a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, do I love them having phones with them all the time? Nope. Do I love being able to find them all the time? When we talk about social media, I mean, one of the things I use to know where my kids are is Life 360. Is that going to be declared something that they shouldn't be using? Where is the line, and what is the definition of social media? Because that social media, if I choose to add additional folks, there is more social media in there, and that are outside my family. And some people do that with their extended family. There's been stuff on TV about how folks through their iPhones share their location with their friends and neighbors. And is that acceptable? I mean, my question, I guess, more so than anything, is where does the line start and where does it stop? I'm sure it's Instagram and Snapchat and those types of things, and TikTok, which are the most popular right now. But what happens tomorrow when kids always are looking for the next big thing. And how do you define it so that you hit the next big thing instead of having an outdated law?
Right. So the definition of social media is very tightly defined in the bill, and I don't have it right in front of me as I sit in the car right now. But it describes the type of technologies that we're discussing and the type of methods and how it's employed. So the things that you're describing are not caught up, right? It's not video games. It's not phones, or how to be able to find your kids. It's very specific in the definition, and so I refer you to the bill, and it's very well defined there. And we don't call out any specifics, because to your point, right? Today, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, or whatever it is, the next day might be something else. So we're not calling out any specific companies, but the details are the details, right? And if you meet the criteria of employing some of these addictive technologies, and the way you have this platform, as defined by the bill, you would be under that umbrella. So you'd be surprised by the things that aren't really included. So a lot of things that you're talking about would be fine.
I'll spend some more time massaging it. Thank you very much for coming on today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. You all have a great weekend. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks for joining me this morning, Stephanie.
Anytime.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in. You all have a great rest of the weekend and a great week next week.
Okay.